I'm going to tell you guys about Jason Voorhees, the little boy that was trapped in a lake that became a giant bloodthirsty killer for some reason. They made 10 awful movies about him, each one more terrible than the last. But the story doesn't stop there. The story never dies. They also made a terrible song and an awful, awful music video by Alice Cooper of all people. It was so terrifying. Some say he's still out there, waiting, stalking the night to strike again.
Jason Voorhees?
No, of course not. Even worse. Alice Cooper.
And he's back with a new single and all sorts of things. So
All
sorts of things.
Yes.
Now, the new single, it's from one of these films, isn't it? That's Friday the 13th, part 500
6.
or whatever.
Yeah,
It's part 6.
Part 6. They're just going to keep making them until they finally kill him, but I don't think they'll ever kill him.
Okay, so I guess we need to start with a history of where the Friday the 13th franchise was at this moment in time. By 1986, Jason had been a little boy in a lake, a killer in a burlap sack, a killer in a 3D hockey mask, and a killer in a hockey mask who was killed by Corey Feldman. In Friday the 13th Part 5, The New Blood, Jason only appears as a ghost in Tommy Jarvis's brain. But Jason Voorhees fans were mad that the character had been killed off for good, so the producers decided to bring him back, and therefore, they needed to find a way to bring him back. In the movie, Tommy Jarvis, now played by his third actor in 3 films, digs up Jason's grave to really make sure that he's dead.
Okay, there it is, huh? There's his grave.
Just to be extra confident, he stabs the masked killer in the heart with a metal fence post. But of course, the moron does all of this during a lightning storm, and the fence post gets struck by lightning, reviving Jason once again to stalk the night. To celebrate Jason's resurrection, the producers decided to stretch their $3 million budget and hire a legend of goth rock to perform the theme.
I never actually saw them live. I saw, certain videos and things, and I thought, he's doing this thing I wanted to do with the horror and and of course these elaborate, executions and hangings and all this stuff he did on stage. Yeah. So when we were putting music together for the Friday the 13th, we were trying to figure out who we can get and what we can afford, because again these things were low budget. But Frank Mancuso, who was the producer on it, came to me and he said, the Alice Cooper people approached us, and what do you think about Alice actually writing a song? And I go, God, that would be amazing. Yes, of course.
Man, oh man, come down here and spend all my life cleaning up after these kids. They make me, hey, $1 bill, how about that? Man, that's great. See, sometimes a fake $1 bill is all you find. Man. What's this? Alice Cooper, Constrictor. Man, oh man, this guy is really disgusting. This guy is really sick. And so are you.
Who better to sing us through these horrors than Alice Cooper?
And by the way, enjoy the show.
We begin with a teen begging his dad to let him borrow the car. But of course, he's tanking his grades, so no dice. Cut to a group of teens storming into a movie theater showing Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. One of them, of course, is carrying a Jason Voorhees hockey mask. This is all intercut with Alice Cooper performing the song. I love the goth throne he's got here.
I don't think we need to stand here and pick apart the Alice Cooper wants an antique chair theory.
The green screen here is so blocky and blurry. Did you guys even try? The guy next to our young couple, dressed up as Alice Cooper, complete with extreme eye makeup. Jason then bursts out of the screen, completely ignoring the fact that Part 3 was the 3D movie, not Part 6. But it's Alice Cooper. I don't know which scenario is scarier. He then yells at our couple and shatters a glass on his head. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a long Scared Straight program by his dad. And then a shock rocker shouted in my face, "I'm never going to ask to borrow the car again." They really looked horrified and grossed out. What movie did they think they were going to? Then they step into the movie. They look up at Alice standing on the rooftop from Ghostbusters, and then they're attacked by Jason. The two lovebirds are then caged and forced to watch Alice Cooper whip a winged man on a horse. Cooper then stabs the cage, opening the door somehow. I don't trust the structural integrity on this thing. They escape, jumping out of the screen. Alice doesn't seem particularly angry about it. You'd think he would be yelling and screaming at this point. The movie ends with the audience cheering, throwing things, and generally making life a living nightmare for the innocent theater workers. Walking down the street, Alice Cooper is captured by Jason. Is this supposed to be in the movie? Because the movie's over. The only person who got an after-credits scene in 1986 was Ferris Bueller.
It's over. Go home.
Did you enjoy the movie? Jason, I'm talking to you.
Turns out his name is also Jason.
Not sure I really understood it all.
You and me both, pal.
Then let me explain.
Oh no! The movie is real! Or something.
Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
And Detroit's Vincent Furnier, better known to rock fans and concerned parents as Alice Cooper, stunned many in the early 70s with his shock rock theatrics and explicit lyrics. Well, he's been absent from the recording studio and the road for several years, but now he's back in a way only Alice Cooper could return.
The song went to number 4 in Sweden and number 61 in the UK. And that's it.
We didn't mind a little blood on stage and a little, slash here and there. And so when the slasher movies came along in the 80s, all of a sudden we were right there. So when it came to writing for Jason, Jason's like, remember the band.
The album, Constrictor, brought Cooper back to the charts, seeing as his last 2 albums didn't even touch Billboard. It only made it to number 59, but still.
You don't have to be a genius to take a look at me and realize I'm an old rocker that refuses to die. And so when all the movies, I always try to put as much rock music in as I can.
The film made $19.4 million on a $3 million budget. This was the first Friday the 13th not to make over $20 million at the box office. Maybe people weren't as excited to see Jason come back as the producers had hoped. I don't know of any film franchise that's maintained its quality over 6 movies, but Friday the 13th really suffered. The entire movie is ridiculous, but especially resurrecting Jason by stabbing him in the heart during a thunderstorm.
Because I've always had a great love of Gothic horror, I thought if I could bring in that element.
It's alive! It's alive!
Being a huge fan of the old Universal horror movies, and particularly Frankenstein, that was the first idea. Let's bring Jason back to life. Gotta be a lightning bolt.
This is the only time they even try to give a scientific explanation for how Jason comes back to life. In every other movie, they basically just have him wake up in the bottom of Crystal Lake and immediately start murdering teenagers. But no, now we have to reason through why he's back. It's so dumb. So basically what I'm trying to say is, this whole episode is my apology to Tom for making him watch this awful movie.
6 was a lot more fun to do than 5. I think everybody else was happy. You had Tom McLaughlin, who I think is a real director.
Writer-director Tom McLaughlin later wrote parts of the Friday the 13th video game and would also pull double duty again on the Friday the 13th show, which is officially not canon to the movies. It's an anthology horror series that only hinted around being related to the movies because series producer Frank Mancuso Jr. also produced the show and figured he might as well reuse the name. McLaughlin also directed 1 episode of anthology series Freddy's Nightmares, making him the only person to direct both Freddy and Jason. Yeah, I said what I said, Ronnie, you.
They came to us and they said, could you write 2 or 3 songs for the movie? A couple of incidentals and a theme. I went, yeah, absolutely.
Alice was incredible to just kind of let us use whatever songs we wanted.
Alice Cooper provided 2 additional instrumental tracks for Jason Lives and would later play Freddy Krueger's father in Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Now all he needs to do is direct a Halloween and he'll finally get the hat trick. Cooper still performs the song in concert to this day, as do the Sloths, the band fronted by one Tom McLaughlin. Hey, wait a second.
The Man Behind the Mask was written 3 or 4 different ways. We wrote it, a heavy metal version of it, and then we wrote sort of a hard rock version, and then we realized at that time that they were looking for something a little more bounce to it. And so we got together with Kelly, who wrote, I think, Material Girl for Madonna, and he was the one that came in with that. Dum, 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 dum.
A big reason why I do this show is to expose myself to music I've never even thought to listen to before. I've never listened to Alice Cooper, so to me, he's the guy in Wayne's World who knew all about Milwaukee.
I think one of the most interesting aspects of Milwaukee is the fact that it's the only major American city to have ever elected 3 socialist mayors.
Does this guy know how to party or what?
But now I've become an Alice Cooper expert. Okay, definitely a stretch. But hey, who else has thought this much about this song since 1986? And this is the first time I've willingly rewatched this movie in a long, long time.
I think that's horrible.
Of course it's horrible.
I don't believe you entirely. I bet you're a man who would like to go and see Top Gun, really, and you just watch these because of the image.
I hate those movies. I hate those movies. No, I really do love these movies. I mean, I think it's an important part of your education to see these movies.
Oh, Jason lives because he was dead and then he came back to life. So he lives. No, that can't be it. And that's the story of how Alice Cooper single-handedly ruined the Friday the 13th franchise.
I don't know, Chris. I think there were a number of factors, including changing audience demand and general slasher movie fatigue.
Single-handedly? Thanks for watching, everyone. I always appreciate people liking and sharing my videos. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. If you know a terrible music video you'd love to see me cover, drop it in the comments. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.